Hello, today is July 3rd, 2020. Let's go over our calls. We've been saying that the week on which Independence Day falls is typically a positive week for the market, but that's over. So if you're a bull, you no longer have the calendar working in your favor. And as we'll see, you have quite a lot of things working against you. First of all, we had a target of 31.1297. We said unless we gapped up, it should print. The number was seen in futures. It's interesting, but it does not suffice to take this off the list. So we now have 3 failed MEJT targets, which did not print within their preferred time frame, but the odds are overwhelming. They will print at some time. Look for the pattern with the early high. This is it. Typically, it's a rally day with a high in the final hour. Failure is a straight line drop, and there it is. I like to point out this is not a wall into the close. The principle behind a wall is that when big money leaves the table and amateurs have things all to themselves, they tend to act the wrong way. In this case, we were dropping. Let me back up and go over what happened during the day. We had a breakout over a consolidation, a low, a 61.8% retracement, and then we undercut the low and closed under it. The close was 3130.01. That's a negative formation. It's a topping formation, and the only thing which invalidates it would be if we gapped up at least over this high and preferably over this one. If you gapped up smartly and took this out promptly, that would suffice. In this case, you had selling beginning with an hour and a half left to go, so it wasn't just the amateurs who were selling. And in fact, with about 5 minutes left to trade, the market staged a rally and futures went up another 10 handles after that. So when the hoi polloi were left to themselves, they staged a rally after the market made a major topping formation. And amateurs aren't always wrong, but when they go against a big major market trend like this, the odds are heavily against them, and futures are down now from that big rally as I'm recording this. Anyway, Monday we're also going to see the same pattern. It's a pattern with the early high tends to be a rally day, high near the close. But when there's a straight line drop like this and a negative formation, it tends to lead to more weakness. And all we need to do to confirm this is a top is to go under today's close by 1 cent. And if we gapped down, it should be the start of something pretty ugly on the downside. Only signal we got from MEJT today was that this rally was false and would retrace, go under this line. And we did. There's support under the line, but as you see, support didn't hold. It's very significant that this low did not hold and that repeated attempts to break through highs of a prior consolidation did not hold. Here's what we said. We need a gap up tomorrow or lower prices should print. We got the gap up. We've been saying all the way up that the calendar was working against the bears, but that's no longer true, and that we were close to an imminent high. Well, this is a chart we've shown a few times. We had this line and this line. We're going to add a parallel line through this. You'll see how it intersects with Friday's high. You can draw a trend line from this high to this low. You get a great hit here and a great hit right at Friday's high. So we have trend line resistance. And the rule in general, when you reverse from the trend line, you want to see is gap over this particularly at a junction point like this, you want to gap over this or the trend line wins. Here's the count that we're using. It's not the only count, but we have us in wave blue C. And if it's the right count, it should have some kind of relationship in magnitude and intensity to wave blue A, which was a doozy. We've made numerous attempts to break through the 61.8% retracement of this drop, and they've all been rejected. You can see how here's a open over all these highs and a rejection by going under this low. So repeated attempts to break through this high here did not succeed. Now we have this as our count. If this is 1, and this could be 2 or A of 2, you can take the height of 1, and here's your 78.6, which is a good place for 2 to stop, and I don't count this little squiggle here. If you want to count it, you can make some kind of ABC out of it, but it still is some kind of Fibonacci resistance to me. And if the target minimum is to have relationship to wave blue A, you can see even 50% takes us into the middle 2700. So that's, if that's the right count, you won't know for certain until you undercut this low, but that gives us quite a target on the upside, the downside. And if we're wrong, we're going to gap over this high, and that's your limit on the upside. So the risk-reward ratio here I consider favorable if you're short. Monday's pattern has the early high. Typically it's a rally day with a last hour high. Failure is a straight line drop. It's the same pattern we saw Friday. The negative outcome of the normally positive pattern typically leads to more weakness. Only gapping up smartly, ideally over Friday's high, would negate the pattern. The wave count's compatible with a very steep drop starting right here. Nothing requires the failed MEJT targets, and these are over 100 handles below us from this week to print soon, but nothing prohibits it either. And sentiment indicators which show extreme bullishness among option players. There's a Dow theory non-confirmation. The NASDAQ hit an all-time high. S&P is far from it. They all argue for a big bear move starting right here. It's tough to call tops when you have rallies like this, but if we're wrong, we're going to know pretty soon because we're going to be gapping over this high. And if we gap down, I think the odds are overwhelming. Well, I said 100 points lower. I guess it's 100 points lower from here, but not from here. If we gap down, which futures are making plausible as I'm recording this, it's pretty hard to see how we recover prior to hitting much lower prices. So look for the same change in trend times as we saw yesterday. And the day is typically positive, but if we get another day like this with a big drop, it could be very big, and that's today's call.